Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Wisdom Work with Christa and Christy. I'm Christy McCaffrey, and I have here with me today my host and my buddy, Christa Mantey. How are you, Christa?
Hi, Chris. Great to be here.
So great to be here, and we're happy to have everyone listening and watching. Thank you for being here. We have a fun conversation today in store for you, where we've talked about some pretty heavy topics in recent podcast episodes. We're thinking that now's the time to lighten it up a little bit. And we want to talk about today bringing the magical into the mundane. How can we intentionally bring moments of magic into our day, experience of magic into our lives, and just how can we set that intention and create more special moments in what otherwise could feel boring or mundane. So, Christa, I want to ask you, can you tell us just a list of things that you do on a daily basis, or like what are the things that you turn to help you create some magic in your life?
Oh, I would love to. And yeah, this is so fun to talk about because it's the things that I think we overlook so easily, right? It's like the simple moments that when we bring our true presence and our full presence to anything, that's a magical moment for me. So, for example, something as simple as after I get out of the shower, like I'll rub lotion on myself or like scented lotion or oils or something, and it'll feel almost like an anointing practice. Like I'm anointing my sacred skin and just rubbing my body lovingly and gently. Like that can be magical. For me, it's a lot about rituals too, and trying to ritualize little things that I do every day. Like I mentioned on here a lot of times about my sacred start in the morning, and I'll pull some cards, or I'll ask a question and then pull cards and see like what happens. And I love this, creating this dialogue with life. So I always ask for signs in my prayers. So when I hear different things or I see different things or something comes up in meditation, and then I'll find a validation either with the cards I pull or the Instagram people I follow. Like it's just so cool to me to feel like something bigger than myself is listening, and something bigger than myself is communicating with me always. So that's really fun. Another thing I love to do is just slow down. Like right now in my journey, I am acutely aware of when I am in control mode and when I'm going too fast, or when I have my agenda and I don't see anything else possible. It's just like, this is what I need to do. Here's what I'm going to do today. And when I feel that grip too, like I'm clenching too hard, I'll take a moment and I'll just breathe. And that's usually a call to meditation or a call to just take it down a notch, like go outside in nature, go for a walk. And what happens is this beautiful and like sweet surrender, because I'll realize like, oh, wait a minute, like I've been down this road before. There's so many other possibilities to how this day could go, or how this outcome could come to be. So I'll remember that, and then I'll do something, or I'll do one of my practices where I just try to release, try to release control. I'll do some deep breathing or breath work. I'll do some yoga or take a walk in nature, light a candle. Aromatherapy is really important for me. So diffusing essential oils, lighting some incense, burning sage, doing kinds of like the lighting a candle is really invoking the higher spirit for me. So I always have a candle lit during our podcast. I have a candle lit all the time when I do client calls. So it's just this soft, subtle intention of allowing me to just be the vessel and to just kind of clear out all my stuff and allow for that light, the candle light, to come through me in bringing the greatest good in this situation. So those are kind of some of mine, but
I
I want
love
to hear
all of
from
them.
you. Yeah, I
I
know that
love
you have
all of
similar
them.
stuff.
I was just going to say, I think I will say before I even get into it that Christa and I's rituals are going to be pretty similar. But I think just to reiterate what you said about the scents, for me too, there is this lotion that I use, a moisturizer that I use that has like a eucalyptus scent, really like a really heavy eucalyptus scent to it. And I remember, I don't know if it was like I saw someone say this or I'd read it, and they said like, when you are putting something like that on your face, like cup your hands over your nose and just take like a deep breath in, and it actually can be like a therapeutic, moment for you. And so I try to do that actually every time I put it on. And there's something about, I mean, aromatherapy, there's plenty of research to support that. It really does affect your overall stress and your overall, like, how you're feeling in your body. That has always been something I've connected to since I was younger. And it's thanks to my mom. She used to put like drops of lavender on my pillow if I couldn't sleep. And that always helped, and now the scent of lavender is like such a special connection and memory for me when I smell it. But yeah, the eucalyptus in the face lotion is great. Also the sage, we're always talking about the sage, but it truly, I mean, it has gotten to the point now where like, if I light the sage and the first smell I get of it, same thing. It just like takes over and completely releases the stress in my body. I don't know what it is. It must be a form of aromatherapy. And even just like walking through the house with the sage and just the intent to clear the energy in the house has become a really magical practice for me. And I know I said this before, like it's totally not weird anymore to my family. So if you're listening and you're like, okay, that sounds insane, give it a try, because your family will eventually get on board, possibly. And I do it as frequently as I can. So also I was saying to Christa before we started chatting here that one of the things that I have been doing recently is, well, first of all, with my Instagram account and who I follow, I have actually completely unfollowed most people. No offense to anybody. But it's for my own mental health. And I just follow accounts that are like really either inspirational or supportive and aligned with like what it is that I feel like I need to make me feel strong and healthy each day. And so one of those accounts is an account called Carmel by the Sea. So Carmel is in California. It's an incredibly beautiful place, right on the coast. And this account, they share every single day. She shares either videos as a post or videos on her stories, and they're set to like always like a beautiful song. And it's either her just like walking around town, looking at certain flowers and just like these beautiful settings like there in Carmel, but then also at the beach. So she's always sharing like videos of the ocean rolling in, or like these beautiful, like wide view shots from on like the cliffs of Carmel. It's like unbelievable. So I will tune into that every single day now. And it honestly is just a fabulous way to bring some magic into my day. There's also a woman, Florette is this farm they have out on the West Coast. She has a show on the Magnolia Network too. And she has this huge, massive flower farm. And she's always posting these beautiful pictures from there. I mean, it's like the sunset over a field of like these gorgeous flowers. Wow. That too. I mean, it sounds silly possibly that like that can make such a difference in your day, but it does for me. Just seeing those images or connecting with the ocean in some way. I'm home in my house in Havertown, right here outside of Philadelphia. Like I have no beach anywhere all that close to me, but I'm allowed to transport myself there anytime I want by being intentional and looking for like these accounts and these pictures, these images. That really does add a lot of magic to my day, honestly. I also had a moment yesterday where, I kind of finished everything I needed to do for the day. The kids were still at school. I was going to be leaving to pick up my youngest. And I could just all day long, I kept hearing the birds outside my window. They're very loud and vocal right now. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit with my green juice by the window and listen to the birds. And I did that. I mean, I'm talking like 10 minutes, but I just sat there, listened to the birds, drank my juice, and like focused on my breath. And I felt a million times lighter after that 10 minutes. I just really want to drive home the fact that I know if you don't create this type of moment for yourself, they don't tend to happen. You know, if you don't put that intention into your day to create something like that, actually, it's not that it doesn't happen, it's that it passes you by. You know, and so that is, I wrote about it after the fact, about just like the importance that I have found of having a mindful moment and creating these mindful moments. Because for me, what it does is then if I'm able to like sit for those 10 minutes and really absorb being in the moment, it does something to my stress levels that then an hour later, when my kids are running around the house screaming and I would normally react not so great to that because my stress levels would be so high, having given myself that moment, I'm able to come at that moment and say like, okay, all right, everybody calm down, or, you know, or just say to myself, like, don't let this get you all flustered. And it's because I poured into myself. And I know we talk about this a lot, but it's that concept of not pouring from an empty cup. So I do try to incorporate some moment like that, even if it's not a full 10 minutes, some moment each day that brings the magic into my normal routine. I just think it's really, really important to be intentional about that.
Yeah.
So those are the main things I'd say that I focus on. Obviously, you know, also what you said, I feel like I'm repeating your list, but yoga and Pilates and meditation are super important to me. So, you know, I try to get some sort of movement, really. Any sort of movement, if it's just going out for a walk or going out for a run or doing a workout or just like a Pilates or yoga, something that gets my body moving, it can literally shift the energy in your body. And so I try to do that at least once a day, because that does somehow shake things up for me and make me feel a little bit more connected to like positive opportunities throughout the day, or being receptive to positive opportunities. And also, like you said, just finding ways to feel connected to a support that's greater than you. I can't say enough how important that has been to me in my life, in cultivating inner peace, in connecting to magic in any way, is having a belief in something higher than myself that's supporting me. You can call it universe, you can call it God, you can call it whatever feels, I call it both, really. Like sometimes I'm speaking about God, I'm speaking about the universe. It's just this energy that I feel like is supporting me. And I also love to ask for signs. Like you were saying, like I love owls. Owls are my sign. That's my spirit animal. And so I'll just, you know, I'll say like, give me a sign of an owl. Or if you have a direct question you're wanting to ask, like, okay, show me an owl, let me know if I'm on the right path or whatever. And I love too, when those moments happen and you're like, oh my gosh, yes. Okay. I'm just reminded that magic is around me. Right. And that we have the opportunity to access it at any point, but you just have to look for it and be intentional about it and tune into it. So that's my list.
It's so true. I think that's so important. And even if, you know, tuning into something higher, for me, it's like, it varies. Like I could be talking about light. I could be talking about just love, like the energy of love. I could be talking about ancestors. I had just participated in this Divine Feminine Summit recently. And one of the speakers on the summit, everyone was doing like a meditation or an activation at the end. And this one woman was talking about how she calls in any ascended master that she's feeling called to that day, to open the channel and allow for them to give her any messages they may have for her. I was like, that's brilliant. Like, so you could call upon Jesus, you could call upon Buddha, you can call upon Mary Magdalene, you can call upon Lakshmi, you can call upon Kuan Yin, like whatever you're feeling connected to, you can call upon grandmom, you can call upon your mom, like whoever you are connecting with from the other realms or whatever, you can call upon spirits of animals, the owl spirit, like, what do you have for me today? And because for me, I believe like we all have these psychic abilities, and there's so many different cool interviews out there nowadays where there's like different C's, like clairvoyance, claircognizance, audio, I think. So there's different ways that we can connect. And for me, I think that's so cool and so powerful. And if we're getting quiet enough, we can really start to hear and listen and be in tune with different things. So I feel like that's totally magical. But one of the things I've been doing in my meditation is opening up and allowing that channel to be open, and for me to receive whatever they are trying to tell me. And I'll call different people by name based on how I'm feeling that day, like who I'm wanting to hear from. And it's a really cool way to also have boundaries with, who you're wanting to hear from when, because they leave us alone, from what I understand, unless we say you're invited in.
Yeah.
And you could say like you said, the owl, or give me a sign of an owl. Like, you can be specific in how you want to receive a sign so that it's clear. Or you can, like for me, I was journaling after these meditations, and I could, like, sometimes I could get a message from that ascended master, and I would write out like what Jesus taught me or what Mary Magdalene told me. And it's just really cool. I mean, this is like a little a little more woo, but it's just like, for me, this is where the magic is. It's like, knowing there's no separation and that we have this ability. And like you said, anytime you're tuning into that frequency, anytime you're tuning into your channel of like, yeah, I want magic right now, you're surrendering to something way different than what you think is right or what you think should happen. One of the other things I think of outside of me is astrology. So I'm a big fan of a lot of different astrology experts. I'm not one, but I love learning what's going on with the planets, because typically if something, there's a saying, a universal law of like, so above as within, or so below. And so whatever's happening externally and above us is happening within us, typically. Like, there's a parallel, right? So if the planets are a little wonky or things happening right now, we're in Mercury retrograde. So it's just like, we just had a lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So there's a lot going on in the planets, which tells me like, it's okay that you're extremely emotional and weepy right now.
It validates what you're going through. Yeah, for sure.
And it makes me feel so much more connected, as opposed to like just going off the rails unknowingly, you know what I mean? So that's one of the things I've been way more tuned into, the moon cycle and also my own cycle, because that's correlated. And with the moon cycle, like on the full moons, I'll make an intention and we'll do rituals in our house around release. So giving whatever feelings or thoughts we don't want, any patterns in our life that are running that we don't want anymore, we'll release it to the moon. During the new moon, we'll set intentions, and that's a time for manifesting. So thinking about what you want to call in for this next cycle. And we have 13 moon cycles throughout the year. So it's a lot of opportunities for us to have release and intentions, and bringing that, that meaning and that purpose to your month. And to think about like, okay, that didn't really go well, so I'm going to release that this month. Or like this past moon, I just did, I wrote out like actual things that I wanted to release, like different feelings or ways I was showing up. I ripped it out of my journal, I burn it, and I put it in the toilet, and I flushed it when it was on fire. And I was like, that's it. I'm releasing it. Like, it's gone, and I'm giving it to the moon.
I love that. And I love the whole focus on releasing and surrendering. And I think that when we talk about magic, for me too, what goes hand in hand with like releasing and surrendering is trust and faith. And I know I've talked to you about this before, that I think I haven't really, up until this moment in my life, I've never really completely let myself be guided and kind of allow what is meant for me to be. I've done it in bits and pieces, and I've gotten better at it. But now I'm trying to be really super intentional about that, where if I really want to feel more magic in my life, right? If I really want to feel like things are happening not to me, but for me, then I have to not only release and surrender, I have to trust and have faith that there is this energy supporting me and that there is a greater plan for me and that I am being guided to that. And I think it's really difficult for all of us to do that. But if you can just imagine like what could be, and that's what I do now is like, what have I been holding myself back from potentially by holding so tightly onto control, right? And by trying to compartmentalize every single part of my day and every single part of my life, what have I been blocking what type of magic have I been blocking myself from receiving? And I think that that's a really important thing to ask yourself when it comes to this conversation is like, what ways could I create more space within myself and within my life to allow for more magic to come in?
Oh, I have chills. What great questions. Yes.
And it's so similar to what we've talked about before about like doing the work, this inner wisdom work, so that you can remove the boulders within you, remove whatever is blocking you from receiving what you really want. That goes hand in hand with believing and trusting and having faith in the magic of what your life is really supposed to be. That I think our life, and I'm learning this as I get older, like it's really not supposed to be such a grind and so hard, right? But we kind of do that to ourselves as we're like pushing towards goals and compartmentalizing and controlling and forcing. We're missing the magic because we're not allowing. And I know we might sound like a broken record because we, align and allow, release and receive. There's some wisdom in here, people. What we're trying to say is that it's kind of always going to come back to that. The wisdom work is always going to come back to that. And I think that's what both of us are learning, like on our own paths separately, but also in our conversations always together, is that it's the yin and the yang. Like if you really do want more freedom for yourself inside, right? Internal peace. We keep saying that as well. Like internal peace is the new success. If you really want that, you desire that, and you want to know what that feels like, what that tastes like, then you have to be willing to surrender, release, and then be open to receiving, be open to trusting, and be open to like believing in the possibility of magic in your life. Magic being however you define that. What makes you feel lit up? What makes you feel taken care of? Like that's the kind of magic we're talking about.
Yeah, completely. I'm glad you clarified that, because for me, magic's like just feeling that aliveness, like the sparkles in life. It's like you said, it doesn't have to be the grind. Our birthright is joy, but how far we've moved from feeling that on a daily basis. Like how many of us could say we wake up just feeling joyful? Like probably kids still, because they're closer to that, but adults, like I'd argue a lot less, which is sad. And it's a real tragedy, I think, in our lifetime, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that this whole idea of co-creation is really important to me, because we are part of what we're doing. We are part of what we're creating. So if we want this magic, if we want this sparkly life, that we feel that internal freedom, we feel that internal peace, we feel that internal joy and aliveness, we have to do the work, right? Like we are part of this. It's not just waving the magic wand and letting the magic happen. Like that's half of it, allowing. But the other part is aligning. And the other part is doing the work to get clear on like, what is my internal compass look? What does it look like? What does it mean? What is, what's blocking me? What do I need to release in order to receive? Because I think, like you said, Chris, like it's so hard to have that faith and to be patient. That's another one that we work on. It's like to be able to sit in the muck. And that's a crucial point of this whole journey that I'm learning, is like, you can't rush your healing. You can't rush the wisdom. You can't rush getting to the gold. So you have to sit in the muck, and however long it takes, however awful it feels, the pain is real. You know it from our stories. Like you're not alone. We're with you in this, but that's where the courage is, to stay there for as long as you need in order to, you'll get your answer of why you're there. And then you can fully release. So I just heard, I forget if I talked about this on the podcast before, but I just heard this beautiful image around, with the phoenix, the rising phoenix, where it's like, you needed to have everything burn and you need to find the gold in the ashes and then rise.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
If you're not done burning, you're not going to get the wisdom. You're not going to get the gold. So you can't rise yet. You have to stay. Support yourself. Take care of yourself. Put on that spiritual tool belt, whatever it is for you, whether it's the yoga, the nature walks, the meditation, the talking to a friend or a therapist. Like, do what you need to do to get through that rough patch, but then you'll fully be able to rise, and it won't keep coming with you. Yes. Like, that's what I feel like is, if you rush your healing, or if you try to get to the gold too fast, like, it's not fully gone. So you kind of keep that ickiness with you, where we want to like totally release it and totally surrender it in order to rise.
Such an important point, because this is something that I've learned on my own path, is that, and I think everybody can relate to this, that there will be certain things that keep coming up in your life, right? Certain like difficult, challenging things that if you look at it, there's kind of a thread, and you're like, that's very similar to this thing that keeps popping up. That's because you have not fully dealt with it.
Yeah.
So Christa's absolutely right, that like, if you're willing to have the patience to really sit with something and let it burn, like really let yourself feel what it feels like to be disappointed by somebody, or to be frustrated with something. Like, don't just be pissed. You can be pissed, but don't just be pissed.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be pissed. Allow yourself to be sad. Allow yourself to love yourself through that pain. Allow yourself to forgive the other person so that you can release your attachment to the pain and sit with it. That's what it means. That's what we say when we're saying sit with it and let it burn. Like, let all of those levels of grief, really, because that's usually when you're releasing something from either a trauma from your past or just somebody that pissed you off 10 minutes ago, you're releasing. The only way to release it is to grieve, but go through these levels of grief of like being pissed, being angry, being sad.
Oh no, she didn't.
Yeah. All the things that, like, if you only go to one of those levels and then you move on, that lesson, it may not even be for 2 years from now, is going to come back to you again. Right. Or it could be 2 weeks from now, but like, it's going to be until you really own it and heal it and process it and then move forward. And you and I have said this a lot too, that like you go through the muck and then you come out and you feel lighter, but then you are damn sure better be ready to get face first in the mud again. And then you're going to come up again. Like, it is this constant like up and down, but the more that we do it, the freedom and the peace that you feel on the other side of those muddy situations, it just gets better and better and better. And I think that to me is what I've learned is like the true evolution process in our own personal journeys, is being willing to strap in for this ride and committing to it. And then you get to really like reap the rewards of the work that you're doing, because otherwise you will primarily stay stuck in mud. You'll have happy moments. You'll have peak experiences. Sure. But like, do you want to look back and feel like your life was primarily like just dealing with, being stuck in, for lack of a better word, shit, like the shit that's bothering you and holding you down? Or would you rather have seen that like you kept working through it and you kept facing it, and that overall your life was like this really magical experience?
Yes. And that's what's on offer for all of us. Like, we can choose. And then we talked a lot about this in the Shedding Layers podcast, where it's like this form of evolution, like for our soul journey, you will never be done. Unfortunately, like there will always be the next contraction right after an expansion. Like that's just a universal law. Like what goes out must come in, and what goes up must come down. So it's like for me, what I've started to notice is that it doesn't throw me off as much. I'm able to witness it from an objective point of view, like almost like a zoom out. I'm like, oh, Christa, you're in a contraction again. It's okay. Like, we know how this ends. Like, you're just going to have to learn a lesson. You take really good care of yourself during this pinch point. You don't talk to anybody about it. You journal about your authentic feelings and you feel your way through it. Then when you can come out of it and you can be more transparent and non-emotionally charged, then you have conversations you need to have or whatever needs to take place in the world. But for me, it's like those pinch points, they used to be like months of complaining, bitching, venting, like spewing around as many people as I can get my hands on. Like, look at my situation. Aren't I right? And like all of these things that my ego was just like, yes, give it to her. Like, give me what I need to hear. Because now what I've noticed over the years of this journey is like, I can do that for myself. I don't need all of these other people to convince me of that my feelings are validated. I can feel the way I feel, but then I move through feelings and get to facts and have like, healthy, adult, civil, dignified conversations if need be, and we move forward. But like, that's a journey. That's a big time journey. And that takes like a lot of work, a lot of help supporting me getting to that point, and maturity. And guess what? I don't always do it. So it's not going to be perfect. But like for me, at least now I can see end to end, like that's what I need to do. Like I figured out what my kind of template is during pinch points. So that's different for everybody, right? Like you may have a Rolodex of people you call that are like your therapists or healers or whatever, and you do it talking, or like Christy, you've inspired me to start more of the writing and like rage on the page and doing that kind of stuff when I'm going through things. But it's different. It's different for everybody. That's what this whole community is for, is like to feel your way through, asking people that have been through it or are actively in it and trying to stay in it. Like what are some tools that helped you? Or have these honest conversations. Like, I'm not really feeling great right now, or I'm in a really big fight with somebody that I love and I'm not really sure next steps, or whatever it is. Like, our goal around wisdom work is like forming this community to normalize all this. Like, this is life. You're not wrong. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. This is what our human evolution looks like, right? And we just want to make sure that you have the support you need. You don't feel alone. If we can't offer support, we'll send you to people that can offer you the right support. Like, it's happening all over us, all around us, in us. Like, you're not by yourself. So why do it by ourselves? Like, we've had so much fun, you and I, Chris, doing this over the years together. So it's like, we just want to open it up and give everybody one big hug.
Yeah. Join the party. I think that has been really powerful for me too, is to really accept and understand that listen, whether people are dealing with their pain or not, we're all experiencing it, right? So we all have work to do within ourselves, and that normalizes it for me. Like I said, even if I see somebody and I know that they could focus on some things that they're not, but like I have compassion for them, because I'm like, okay, like, you have pain just like I have pain. You have struggles just like I have struggles. And I heard something the other day that really, like, I don't know, it was like an aha moment for me. And I don't know who said it or where I even like heard it, but they said, like, if you have regrets in your life, that was just an opportunity for a lesson that you missed. Right? So if you can go back to that regret and figure out what the lesson was that you could have learned from that, and heal that situation within yourself by like honoring what the lesson could have or should have been, you can let go of that regret.
Wow.
And that was like, yeah, that kind of like really shifted something in me because I think it's just as you were saying, like having, the more you do this and commit to this work, you're able to get exactly like you were saying, that bird's eye view where you're less like consumed by what, you know, what life's throwing you or what you feel about what life's throwing you.
Yeah.
The more you work through your emotions and your feelings about things and do whatever, like you said, whatever you need to do. But if you're reaching out to other people, let it be other people that are either qualified to help you through it or understand what you're trying to achieve in terms of personal growth, as opposed to what you were saying, Christa, where we used to just kind of spew to everybody who would listen, like, oh my gosh, I need as many people to hear me out as possible. And then I'll feel better. Then I'll fix these emotions inside of me. It just never works. It never works that way. You know, if you're just dumping your emotions, that's not getting rid of them. Or actually, you're putting them out there and they are literally coming smack right back onto you. You are doing nothing with them if you're just gossiping or unloading. What you need to do is do something proactive. So whether that be talk to a friend who can help you healthily, I don't even know if that's a word, work through it in a healthy way, or seek like professional support. That's what we're talking about, is like really healing it, writing about it, meditating on it. Like then you get to start to release these things. And if you have regrets or you're holding on to things, go back and try and figure out, what was the lesson I missed? What lesson did I miss in that? And then maybe I can heal it and let it go.
Whew, talk about magic.
Woo!
I mean, that's the thing. That's a heavier form of magic, but like you said, it can be as simple as sniffing a beautiful scented cream before you put it on your body with full presence, or it can be like doing this heavy lifting emotionally with support and with the professional guides that you choose. So yeah, I mean, this is it's a fun conversation. I think there's magic for everybody to be had and to be experienced. And it's really cool. And it's just a matter of us opening up to it.
Totally. And I think that this is what wisdom work is all about, is exposing the heavier stuff, but also the lighter stuff, you know, and how can we get to the lighter feelings by working through, you know, offloading things to get to the magic. So thank you everybody for listening to Christa and I riff on this today. We really do have fun. We should, full disclosure, tell you that we now just pick a topic and run with it. There is not a whole lot of prep that goes into these conversations, but that's what I love about it, is that you really are getting a very off the cuff, authentic conversation from us. And we hope that you who are listening appreciate that, and you feel, you know, a part of this, you feel a part of the conversation. And thank you for listening. Always reach out at The Wisdom Work on Instagram, thewisdomwork@gmail.com. Please keep sending us your messages. We love hearing from you. We love hearing the feedback, and we love to know that you're just listening. So if you're someone that listens and you don't necessarily have feedback, we'd still love to hear that you're listening.
Yeah, we do.
So, you know, send us a message and let us know. Thank you, Christa, for being here today.
Always a pleasure, my dear. Always magic.
Always magic. And we will have more magic for you next time on The Wisdom Work.